Hey everybody, Scott Hollister here, the editor-in-chief of GCSAA's Golf Course Management Magazine. And welcome back to another presentation of GCSAA TV's Live from the Course. Whether you've watched us before or are joining us for the very first time, certainly appreciate you tuning in, and I hope that you and yours are safe and healthy. So to get started, let's start with a bit of a refresher. Live from the Course is a joint production of GCSAA TV, GCSAA, and Golf Course Management Magazine, where we sit down for conversations with notable folks from around the golf course management industry, just to check in, kind of see how they're doing, how they're managing both personally and professionally, and dig a little deeper into some of the interesting stories that we've come across during these last several months. It's been a cool exercise so far, and we think that we have another good one for you today, but we are going to throw you a little curveball, and that is an appropriate pun, considering our guest and topic today. As we welcome in Reuben Wedgeworth, and Reuben is the head groundskeeper for the Biloxi Shuckers, the AA affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers, and a notable, considering the venue that we're in, a former golf course superintendent. So, Reuben, welcome to Live from the Course. How's everything down in Mississippi today?
Appreciate it, Scott. Good afternoon, and everything's going well.
That's great. That's great to hear, and really excited to have you with us. So for those watching, the reason that we wanted to talk with Reuben today isn't necessarily to talk baseball, although I am always happy to do that. Instead, though, it's to talk about an interesting story that we kind of stumbled on that really ties together Reuben's previous professional experience on the golf course with his current duties at MGM Park, the home of the Shuckers. And that involves the creation of a 9-hole mini golf course within the confines of MGM Park. Some of you may have seen the story that one of the GCM editors, Andrew Hartsock, wrote for the GCM website, which is gcmonline.com. And that story was really the genesis for this conversation with Reuben today. So we will get to all of that in just a bit. But to start, I don't know, Reuben, how much folks watching follow baseball, know the situation with minor league baseball throughout the pandemic. But obviously, because of the pandemic, minor league baseball has been canceled for the entirety of the 2020 season. So just to start, if you could just maybe tell us how the pandemic impacted you, how all that unfolded, and this was going to be your first full season on the job with the Shuckers, isn't that right?
That's correct. Yes. Yeah. So we got I actually got kind of thrown in the fire. I started March 2nd. We had a top 10 matchup in college baseball, Mississippi State, Texas Tech, coming in for a 2-game series, the 9th and 10th, and so jumped right in for week 1, and I've got 2 top 10 college teams, really good baseball programs coming to the field. So jumped right in with that. Got those 2 games underway. My Mississippi State being my alum, very excited to host them and to have them here. And we won 2 ball games, so we were really excited about that. And then hosted a couple of high school games at the finish out that week, and then everything shut down. So we had no more baseball. Of course, it took a while before we got final confirmation about the minor league season being over with, but everybody kind of had that sinking feeling that we were not going to play any baseball this year. So,
how close were you to the start of the minor league season there? I mean, they were, I know, they were in spring training when everything shut down. A few weeks left to go there. How far out were you from the start, and did you just maintain your kind of normal day-to-day operations as you waited for word on what was going to happen?
Well, we were about 3 weeks from when the players should be showing up and coaches. We did not. We kind of changed gears, because once we got through with those state games and a few high school games we had, we realized that we were not going to start on time. Our plans at the time we were overseas with ryegrass, and our plans were to leave that ryegrass only to the 2nd week of the season. We had a 10-game break. Was the only time really we had enough time to come in, spray out the ryegrass, and get the Bermuda grass ready to go. So we decided at that point to go ahead and spray out the ryegrass and give that the 419 a little extra opportunity to get healthy, and in case we had baseball, early May, June, whenever.
So, as I mentioned in the intro, you have a previous background in golf as a superintendent before you moved us into some other portions of your career, and now obviously in sports turf. Tell us about your background. How did you get into it? What first interested you in a career in turfgrass management?
Well, I graduated from Mississippi State in '98 with a golf and sports turf management degree, and I went to work immediately after I graduated at Dixie Golf Course in Laurel, Mississippi, and it was my hometown. The superintendent was there. Tom Holland was a big influence into me getting into. I was that high school kid that that maybe didn't show up to work at time right on time like I should, and anyway, I had a passion for it, and he saw that, and he kind of leaned me to it. You need to look into this and to see this. It seems like something you might be interested in, and it was. It's something I fell in love with, and so I worked at Dixie a couple of years. He had since retired, and then I started working at a Laurel Country Club right there in town, and was there for 4 years, and then moved to Timberton Golf Club in Hattiesburg, and had a great relationship with the folks down in Timberton, and spent 12 years there, and really enjoyed my time in Hattiesburg. And then I got into the sales, had a sales opportunity in South Mississippi, and took that opportunity as I was getting older, and decided it was a good time for me, and spent 5 years doing that, and kind of led to the relationships I built here at the Shuckers with the groundskeepers that were here. And New Quince was left in October of last year, and saw an opportunity there, and sat down with the GM in February, March, and we got together and decided this was something I wanted to do, I was excited to do, and moved into the baseball realm.
So you are, am I correct that currently you are the only one working on the grounds there, largely due to the pandemic, correct?
That's correct. Yes, we normally have a staff for game that are just part-time folks, but I usually have an assistant or an intern that works out throughout the summer. This year, obviously, with everything going on, we did not hire anybody for that. So it's just me out there on the field right now. So getting ready for we have some travel ball, some high school baseball that's come in, so it's nice to have some baseball, and then of course we got the golf. Got the 9-hole challenge and all that going.
That's right. So tell us a little bit about the Biloxi Shuckers, about the facility there, and I'm interested what you have found to be the biggest differences. I mean, there's a fair number of guys that go back and forth between the two disciplines, and I'm sure you all get asked this all the time, but so far, what have you noticed to be the biggest differences between work on the golf course and work on a facility like MGM Park and on a sports turf field?
Well, they opened in 2015, so going on their 6th year, the Shuckers were, and it's the turf part of it is like managing a fairway. We were mowing it a half inch, and just getting ready with OC to get into the 419 with the primo, and just like you would a fairway. We're excited to learn. I've got people I've known over the years that they're in the sports turf business, and that either work for me or I work for them, and we're gathered a lot of information for those guys of how to manage the moisture basically in the dirt. It was similar to working greens. I didn't work on bent grass greens any time in my career. I was always in the South, but still had the places that we hand watered, and so it was very similar to that, to manage the moisture in the conditioner.
Any misconceptions that you've discovered? I know both crews like to kind of poke fun at each other now and again, and about a sports turf manager having a relatively small piece of property to deal with, and I'm sure there are barbs going the other way. But are there any things that you've noticed since you've kind of moved into sports turf and said, well, that's not exactly accurate? This is a little more challenging than my superintendent brethren might have led me to believe.
Well, weed control. You come from managing 100 acres and managing weeds, and you go, well, I got 2.5 acre facility here. It's all I got. I can walk around and pull the weeds as I need to. I don't have to worry about it. And that wasn't quite the case. It's I've had to stay on my spray program, and it having less acreage is nice, but it's still the same control measures when it comes to weed control and insect control.
Yeah, well, it's I'm sure there's a million similarities, and probably as you go along find a million small differences between the two. And I know again they both crews like to poke fun at each other now and again, good naturedly, but I think there's a lot of respect, a lot of common ground between the two professions. So you're in your first year, fancy ballpark there in Biloxi, no baseball to be played. And you've come across an idea that's not it's been done before. You've seen other baseball facilities introduce some level of golf, almost a top golf like experience. Tell us how all of that came to be for you at MGM Park.
Well, our general manager Hunter Reed come to me knowing my golf background and said, look, we've talked about this in years past. It's never come to fruition, but he was at winter meetings a couple of years ago that had that at a park. San Diego Petco Park did it, 3 or 4 years ago. So like you said, it's been done. And he come to me with the idea of can we do this? And I was excited. I'm looking forward to baseball, but golf is my background. So I was like, yeah, this is something we can do and have some fun at it, and get something that people can enjoy while we don't have baseball.
Initially, am I correct that this was an idea you guys were going to probably pursue in the off season, maybe just another opportunity to utilize the park when baseball wasn't being played, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And how long after the shutdown did you guys go, hey, this is a way that we can actually get some folks through the doors now, get a little use out of the stadium? How long did it take you to kind of get everything up and going? And this is an idea that we want to pursue right now.
We started talking about it pretty early, probably late April. Got to talking about what we could do. And the first time I went out, set my walk more down a little bit, and I actually double cut and some diamond shapes and made a couple greens out in the outfield with that. And I saw right away that was going to be a lot of labor intensive, me by myself, just to continually do that. So we went the route of painting some circles, coming up with a scoring system where you had a 16-foot diameter circle for a birdie, and you had a green shape, which I kind of handled all that to have for par, and then anything on the field was bogey. So, but we started talking about it. We were kind of holding off on it, just holding hope that we would have baseball midsummer, and we didn't want to get into too much going with that. And then once we got into mid-June, realized that hey, this is it's looking more and more like we're not going to play minor league baseball this year. Let's go ahead and get this out. So we got everything ready, opened up July 4th weekend. A lot of people, on vacation doing things, and the response got better the next 2 weekends after that. But everyone has come through and seemed to enjoy it, had a good time.
That's great. Did you so are there 9 separate greens on the outfield at this point? And how much architecture experience did you have? Were you walking the seats trying to determine where the best tees were and all that stuff?
We actually did. We kind of located the tee boxes first, and we have 2 party decks on the 3rd floor. So we knew we only utilized those as hitting bays, but as part of the 9-hole challenge also. And so we went around and took time and located where we thought the best places for tee boxes would be. And then once we kind of had those 9 locations selected, then we started looking at this green, where the greens would be yardage wise. We were from 70 yards to 120 yards. So we started looking at those locations, and then looked at also knowing, I know from a golfer standpoint, a lot of right-handers, slice the ball. So we wanted to make it friendly. We want to make it fun. So some of the longer holes, we actually made bigger areas on the right side. So to if they're aiming at the flag and slice at 10 yards, maybe they still get a par out of it. Some of the shorter holes, we didn't do that. We kind of made it a little tighter and made it where a shorter hole would be a little bit tougher than the longer ones.
You talked about maintenance in your first idea of actually kind of cutting down some of the outfield turf to create greens and changing that. What sort of maintenance do those areas require? Are you just kind of updating the, repainting when some of that fades? What kind of chores does that put on your to-do list?
Well, we installed the flags with an inch and a quarter PVC pipe we put in the ground in place of a real hole. It'd be very easy for me just to, when I pull those out, to fill those up with sand and let it regrow over that. So that's what held the flags. So no maintenance on that whatsoever once we put it down. And then yes, we just painted the lines. We had to paint them each week. So you go through and paint the interior birdie line and then the par line, and so I always try to mow because I kept up our normal program for our primo. So just to keep the height the same and the field looked really good. We raised the height a little bit when we realized we wasn't going to have sugar baseball. So we wanted to make sure that it recovered well. It looked really green to everybody that's out there playing it that's coming to see it. So.
Well, Reuben, you mentioned earlier some of the other baseball events that had kind of been gradually increasing at the facility. What's your guys' plan on fitting those in with golf? Will you phase out the golf and return back, or are you going to kind of try to keep them both going?
Well, it worked out really well. The group Louisiana Knights came in, and they have 13 to 18-year-old players, several teams, and so they come in 3 weekends in June, and then we started the golf right after they were gone because they were not going to be here for 3 weekends. And then they were supposed to come back last weekend. Of course, we got rained out with Hurricane Hannah, but they're supposed to be here this weekend. Forecast looks really good, and so they'll be here. And we'll bring golf back into August. We want it to cool off a little bit. It's been really hot, so I think that'll bring up attendance a little bit more. So we're going to rotate the two. We'll have the Knights back for a couple weekends in October, and we'll have golf in between those. So.
Yeah, that's something I would suspect in your part of the world. I mean, this time of year obviously is pretty warm down there and pretty humid as well. But is this something you'd be able to continue year round if you guys so chose to do that?
I think so. That was kind of the plan, is to get in October, November, do it those months. Have the golf. We won't have any baseball even if we have regular season. The Shucker season's usually over with first or second week of September. So we're going to start it right after that. Plans are to have a little bit before. We always have some college games, the Mississippi State, Texas Tech games. We always have some here before the Shucker season gets started. So we may not be able to do as much golf in the spring before the season starts as we do, but definitely in the fall.
Well, this is certainly a unique idea inspired by a rather unique point in our history, obviously. Personally, how have you dealt with this? Obviously, I'm certain you were excited, first full season to host baseball and to have that pulled out from under you through obviously no fault of your own. How have you dealt with that? Has it been difficult, or have you found new challenges in simply being, well, I'm kind of by myself to do this. We've got these golf things, we have these other things. How have you kind of managed all of that?
Well, I've been able to study and read up more, talk to more people, and pick up some ideas. I've been able to look at the field from a range standpoint and know that I don't have to have a game ready. How long does it take to dry? How long does it how much rain can I stand before we need to cover, and all that information. And it just gives us opportunity. The turf is doing really well. It's not had a whole lot of traffic on it. So we've been able to look at that and get it in really good shape going into this fall. It's disappointing. It's hard, to be ready for baseball and to be ready for that first season. But at the same time, it's like I said, it's given me an opportunity to learn a lot. I'm not a spring chicken, so I got told from several folks. So by the time August gets here, make sure you're drinking plenty because you'll be wore out. All the 70 home games for the Shuckers. So maybe it's give me a little chance to get in shape a little better and kind of get a few things ready for next year.
How much did you have to lean on others for things like, obviously the agronomy is very, very similar, I'm sure, to the courses that you managed down there. So from the grass perspective, that probably wasn't a huge challenge for you, but obviously there's infield dirt, there's warning tracks,
Yeah.
there's things like that. How big of a learning curve was that for you?
It took, I leaned on quite a few folks. I've got a really good friend that works at a junior college here in Mississippi that worked for me as assistant years ago. And he's got one of the best facilities in Mississippi of Southeast as far as that goes. And I was able to lean on him a lot. A good friend, and we both went to the same high school. But Brian told me right after I started, he said the hardest part of this job is keeping the dirt off the grass and the grass out of the dirt. So uh, trying to get those, and he's been correct so far. So it's the fun part of edging and getting all that, getting and learning how the conditioner and the clay works and how much water it needs. But like I said, it's been a good learning curve that I maybe not have to, stand in front of a minor league manager and explain why the field's too wet just yet. So we'll learn more of that as we go.
Yeah, you'll grow into that. They'll probably cut you some slack right off the bat, but I think everyone's going to be chomping it once we're back into a normal baseball season. Obviously, Major League Baseball, as we record this, is just trying to get themselves up and running with various degrees of success. But yeah, I imagine that hopefully we get into next season, if we have a relatively normal baseball season, they'll cut you some slack that first homestand, but then probably after that you'll better figure out that grass dirt mix pretty quick there.
Yeah, they know it pretty well.
Well, Reuben, has this given the organization the success of the golf? Given them kind of open their eyes to some of the other possibilities. Do you guys host things like concerts or anything like that?
Well, they've actually been in talks with about an MMA fight. So they're trying to come up with ideas. We've had meetings, and most of them have been through Zoom, but we've had meetings where everybody is trying to decide, come up with ideas, something we can do, brainstorm on things that we could host. As much as the revenue part of it is just to keep us relevant for people to remember we're here, and as soon as we have baseball again, we want you back. And so, things from 5K runs that end at the park. There's a beer fest in October. So some things that we can get people around a little bit to keep us on their minds, and to know that whenever, we're doing what we can, and when there's not baseball, and we hope to have everybody back when we get baseball going again.
Well, you're to be commended. The organization's to be commended. Trying to, when life deals you lemons, you make lemonade, and that's certainly a great example of that. So kudos to you on that. And I know it must be a struggle. Do you still stay in touch with a lot of your golf friends from the area?
Oh yeah, it was really cool. We had a group of about a dozen of them that came to those Mississippi State, Texas Tech games. They were here to support me in my first games, and I really appreciated that. And yeah, those guys, we've had a little time to play a little golf too since we've not had baseball. So trying to get together with those guys and enjoying that time.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I'm sure it's been a challenge to deal with. You'd much rather have baseball. I'm a former player way long ago, and was really disappointed when the minor league season was canceled. And I'm sure you guys were too. But it sounds like you've made the best of it. So, Reuben Wedgeworth, the head groundskeeper with the Biloxi Shuckers, they are a Double-A affiliate of the Milwaukee Brewers. Unfortunately, the pandemic has shut down their season, but got creative there. Reuben, thanks so much for taking the time. Really appreciate having you on. Enjoy the conversation.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. Well, listen, everybody, just a reminder, all the live from the courses you can check out on the Facebook page of GCSA TV. We're also featuring them on GCM Online. So you can, after this recording airs on the GCSA TV Facebook page, you can check it out on gcmonline.well. There's always additional resources, information, fun stuff at both gcsa.org, gcmonline.com, and then gcsaa.tv. So please check all those out. So thanks again for tuning in. We'll look forward to doing it again. My name is Scott Hollister. I appreciate you taking the time to watch us, and we will be back again real soon. Have a great day.